Welcome back to the Fish Tank, presented by Van Horn Law Group and Casabella Design Group. Seth Levit and the man with the best hands in the podcast business. He is OJ McDuffie. Juice. We got a spicy one today, man.
I love it. I love it, man. I love it. You know, guys that their first name begins with O always got a little spice to them, Big Seth.
You
What I
find a
mean?
way to make every guest like, I get it. I get
Damn
it.
right.
So wide
Damn.
receivers, offensive players, and guys whose names start. Oh, Ohio guys and
Ohio
guys whose
guys,
names start
all
with
about
O.
the O's. All about the
Okay.
O's, player.
Well, this guest is
Ohio
not from
players.
Ohio players. He is a player. He's not from Ohio. He's straight from Carroll City. He is Omar Kelly. Maybe, in my estimation, we need to talk about this, the most polarizing man on the Miami Dolphins beat. Is that fair to say? Can we call him the most polarized? He's thinking about it.
Yeah.
Omar, first of all, welcome to the Fish Tank.
If I'm the most polarizing ever, but and
Currently.
I hate when people say that I say things just to be a contrarian.
No, I didn't say that.
No. There's this perception that I say things just to be a contrarian, and I'm like, no, I say what I think. Like,
Yeah.
there's no point in telling you. I don't believe in telling people what they want to hear. I conduct my work how as an eighth grader at Lake Stevens Middle School, I wanted to read my sports reporting. I
Okay.
wanted it authentic. I wanted it real. I want you to tell me the truth and not sugarcoat anything, and so that I could process it as a fan. You know, and I always operate as if if you're a follower of mine or you're a reader of mine or you've subscribed to the Miami Herald, I don't want you to ever be surprised when you watch an exhibition game or when you watch a regular season game or when you're trying to look at a player, because I want to be able to say, like, yo, I told you.
Well,
Okay.
Big Seth, I want
Yeah.
to go back to that real quick. So you're talking about, like, I always talk about this with football players, Omar. It's like, you know, as 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, whatever you want to play, you know, professional football. Have you always wanted to be in sports media like this since eighth
Yeah.
grade, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. It was actually before eighth grade. I was in elementary school, and one of my teachers gave us an assignment of make something that represents your family. It's a long story. I'll make it short. My brother was in junior high, and he was working for the high school newspaper. He was like probably editor in chief of the high school newspaper, so he knew how to make a newspaper. My mom said to him, help your brother make a newspaper for his assignment. You know how moms just pass off the homework. And so, he showed me all of his like newspaper little skills and showed me the format. And I was like, oh, okay. So I made this assignment and I turned it in, and my school loved it so much. It was like, if you little elementary kid, you can make a newspaper. Why don't you make a newspaper for the school? So the computer lab guy was put in charge of it. He didn't know nothing that was going on in the newspaper. Okay. So I was as an elementary kid able to make this elementary school newspaper. And my lead article was, and I don't know how my brain worked like this, who had a crush on who. I made a TMZ
I am not surprised.
outing column about elementary kids. And when I tell you that, and I don't know why they let me why they published
That's what
it.
I like.
Yeah. When they published that paper, and that paper started circling around, and when you saw the demand for that newspaper, I was hooked.
I know it is.
And there it is, the most polarizing man on the Dolphins beat, as I said. I love it. Stirring the pot since fifth grade. Stirring the pot since fifth grade. Too good. Too good. Well, so with that in mind and making news, although not the Joe Rose, how you doing with the ladies question. Dolphins news. There is some potential news today. There was at least some information that has been kicked around, not necessarily, and there was news about somebody else that you've been pounding the table that the Dolphins should sign. The Dolphins didn't sign him. So Xavien Howard signs with the Colts today. You have darn near been demanding that the Dolphins bring him back to Miami. And then now we find out that Matthew Judon is going to visit the Dolphins today. There's No rumors or talks of any guaranteed signings. That right now it's just a visit. That's all that has been reported thus far. And for those who are watching this or listening to it by the time it comes out tonight, we recorded with Omar before Mike McDaniel even spoke to the media. So maybe some of these answers will be forthcoming by the time you hear this. But right now, at the time of this recording, can you speak on those two things? Let's start with X-Man, because I believe you guys certainly at least have a mutual respect. I don't know if there's a friendship there.
Oh, there's a friendship. Yeah.
Okay. So cool. So there, I know he's a guy that you have been friends with. You certainly believed in him and thought the Dolphins should bring him back. I'd love to know why you felt he would be a fit here when he kind of became not a fit for one reason or another eventually. And then what is your take on the Matthew Judon situation? Because I think there's more questions than answers at this point.
Well, let's start with the cornerback situation. Right now, do you remember that Jeff Ireland quote when they were doing Hard Knocks, where they said, "We got
he's starting with Jeff Ireland.
We got a lot of 4s, 5s, and 6s, or something like that."
Yeah,
he was talking about wide receivers. Well, at cornerback, the Dolphins have a lot of 3s, 4s, and 5s.
Okay. Better than the wide receiver situation back in the day. All right.
Things are looking up, Juice.
Hey, don't be disrespecting Roberto Wallace and Marlon Moore like that, Juice. There are a lot of guys where I would argue to you that if you cut them all, maybe 1 or 2 would get work immediately. And that's the unit that you're going with. I will make the argument to you and stand on it that Kader Kohu, who was your most experienced cornerback and the teacher, was taught by X and was not even close to X's level, even when he left. So now your best cornerback is what? Storm Duck, and Storm Duck's being taught by Kader. There's a lack of experience, knowledge, savviness, know-how in that cornerback unit. And it's going to force them to play a lot of zone. And I'm at the point where I didn't watch the Detroit practice in person, but it looks to me, I did see the Chicago practice in person. And when those cornerbacks were pressed, it looked like the first time they had ever faced press a day in their life. Tua, who throws to open spaces, not open receivers, was throwing the ball and there was no receiver 10 yards in sight. Now, a receiver's supposed to be there, because if you know Tua, you know that's how he operates. They were just too busy being jammed at the line of scrimmage. I walked away from watching the Chicago practice saying they don't have a proven cornerback that can press. They don't have a proven cornerback that can shadow. They don't have a cornerback maybe other than Mike Hilton that can teach the room in terms of see this, this is what you need. This is what you need to be looking for. And I don't think it's coming. And if they didn't sign X, which I felt was, people don't realize X had offers to play last season. He just fell in love with being a father and picking up his kids and going to gymnastics. Oh, Juice, you know what that's like when finally you like see the other side of life and you're like, man, this is what I've been missing out on. And so when teams were calling, including the Indianapolis Colts, who just signed him, he basically said, you know what? I'm going to just sit this out because they call it midseason. I'm just going to sit this out and continue to do this and continue to get healthy and revisit it next year. Now, I believe that X wanted to play for Miami, and because he didn't want to relocate himself and not miss out on his kids. But he probably missed the game too much and loved football. Lou Anarumo knows him as a defensive coordinator of the Indianapolis Colts. It's a situation that he's comfortable with. Not an ideal situation, but it's a situation he's comfortable with. You go back there, you establish that you're still a very good player. You could still be a starting cornerback in the league. And then you can revisit what happens in the following years. Now, the Dolphins, obviously, for 2 reasons. This is what confused me about today. X is up there in the 30s. They have generally stayed away from 30-year-old players, except for Mike Hilton, which they signed when they lost Kader Kohu. So I thought they were like, we're going young. We're not doing this patch job situation. But the signing of Matt Judon, it would be a patchwork situation. So why would X not make sense unless it was personal, which it very well could be personal considering he called Chris Greer a liar for saying that he talked to X when he didn't talk to X after he signed him. After he released it.
That could make things personal. Yeah, you call somebody a liar.
I mean, but if you lied, you lied. Like, so Judon is very interesting because I think pass rushing is the best and deepest spot on the team. At this point, they're probably going to be two players, whether it want to be Cameron Good or Derek McClendon or Grayson Murphy. You only get to pick one. That was even before Matt Judon. You don't get to pick
Cam Good brings a lot on special teams too, man. So that's got to give him a leg up.
He did. Yeah. He woke me up on special teams, and I have to reconsider his spot on the team because of special teams. But he's not nearly the pass rusher that Murphy is and Derek McClendon is. And I'm sorry, pass rushers make a lot of money for a very good reason.
Yes, they do.
If you could get after the quarterback, that's probably one of the most in-demand things in the NFL outside of shutdown cornerbacks and quarterbacks.
Juice knows I think it's the second most important position on the field.
No, you think it's the most important.
I think it's the second most position.
All right, wide receiver is always the most important.
Wait. Wide receiver's not even in the conversation.
You better stop, Omar.
Wide receiver's not in the conversation.
Omar, everything was going so well.
11 wide receivers all we need, Omar. You know that.
Because if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a chance.
Well, I put a wide out at quarterback too. I don't care.
Welcome to the fish tank, Omar Kelly.
I remember Jason Cole, and you didn't fit into this criteria, Juice. I remember Jason Cole was my mentor when I was an intern back in 1997.
Well, now it's all starting to make sense.
1990, I think it was 1997. I believe you were at this practice. One of my very first practices was watching a Jimmy Johnson practice. It was Yatil Green's first camp, his rookie camp. Dan Marino's throwing him the ball deep. He's wide open. Don't catch it. Dan Marino, he goes deep again. Dan Marino throwing him the ball. Don't catch it. Goes deep again. Dan Marino throwing him the ball. Don't catch it. He walks back to the huddle. And this is why this stands out to me, and I will never forget it. Ever forget it. He walks back to the huddle, and Dan says, I'm going to clean it up for him. If you drop that MFing ball one more MFing time, I'm never going to throw to you ever again on this team. We done. Next rep, he runs that 9 route again, drops the ball. This time ACL tear. And that was my first.
You were at that practice, huh?
I was at that practice.
Yeah. That was bad.
And I will never forget so many different things. It left such a significant imprint on my life that I didn't even know I was going to be a Dolphins reporter back then. But man, watching a Jimmy Johnson physical practice. One, I used to love the training tables because we used to eat with the players, and man, y'all had a lot of food, Juice. Y'all,
yeah. Oh man, too much for some dudes, and they didn't want to push. They didn't want to push back from the table, Omar. Sometimes you got to push back, bro. You know what I mean? They don't want to do it, man.
That's funny.
But yeah, that practice always stands out to me, and probably contributed to where I am today. But Jason also said to me, I always wondered why receivers were always problematic people on the team. Always.
That's the part where this doesn't apply to you, Juice.
Yeah, this doesn't apply
to you. I had some. I'm glad you guys feel that way, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Hasn't been a problem for me.
They were always problematic. And I asked Jason Cole, I was like, why are receivers always like that? And he explained to me. He was like, think about it. They spend their whole life going, look at me. I'm open. Hey, did you see me? Look over here. Hey, did you see that over there? I was open. So you're crying for attention your whole life, and you can't shut it off.
Juice, do you agree? Do you concur?
Well, think about it. For me, is like I was always open, Big Seth, whether I was or not. And that's a receiver's mentality. But I was only a receiver from college and the pros. I was not a receiver most of my life.
That's a fair point.
Once I got to that point, I'm like, hell yeah.
You learn.
Look at me. Please look at me. And then you get, here's my thing too, Omar. I get to the league and I've got the Dupers, the Claytons, the Tony Martins. where they look, I'm like, well, I gotta look like that. I gotta dress like that. I gotta act like that. I gotta get a car like that. So yeah, hell yeah, look at us, man. Damn right, we are divas to the fullest extent of the word.
Absolutely.
We are divas.
Absolutely.
Getting it back. So to your point, though, if Matthew Judon does become a Miami Dolphin, there's one less roster spot, assuming that he is healthy and can, shows that he belongs on the
Makes
roster.
the initial 53-man roster.
Right.
He might begin the year on a PUP. We don't know.
Right.
We really don't.
There's so many unknowns, but
Yeah.
if he does, then it's one less. And so with that having been a position that was considered one of depth and a position where there are some young players to the point you just made, that people think could develop into productive players. And let's not fool ourselves. The two top pass rushers are guys that are coming off of significant injuries as well.
Absolutely.
So there, there's a lot of different things that could potentially come with that signing. And so I'm just curious as to how much you have explored it. The news just really kind of dropped earlier this morning.
I haven't explored it yet. I want to wait until Mike McDaniel talks because he might very well clear it up. Judon has not signed as of yet. More than likely, this is the point in training camp, and Juice knows this. When you an 8+ year veteran, you like, oh, okay, I want to get off my couch now and go to training, and I'll go to training camp now. Where there's 3 weeks till the regular season, you could get in football shape. For those who don't want to go through the training camp rigmarole. So, and for him to take the first visit here, I think if he passes a physical, it doesn't make sense to me, but it doesn't make sense to me unless Zach Sieler's injury or Chop Robinson's injury or Jaelen Phillips' injury is worse than they're saying that it is. If that is the case, then okay, it kind of does make sense. But right now, you're going to have to either cut or trade somebody who's been pretty effective during training camp.
Yeah. And Omar, I want to go back to something you said about our corners that can't play, man-to-man right now. How many teams in the league do you think really play a lot of man-to-man coverage in, the corner position for one? But also, we talk about a solid front seven, those are probably the people that can take care of a weaker corner position. I think we're pretty solid there. So, but I want to go back to how many guys do you think, how many teams do you think play straight up man-to-man, bumper run in your face all the time?
Not straight up, but they can do it.
Play man-to-man? Yeah.
I think Tampa, plays man-to-man. Baltimore, I think they play a man-to-man style. Minnesota with Flores, he trying to choke you out and force, they're enough teams. What I don't like, and I haven't liked this about Anthony Weaver's style. Philadelphia plays both, even though they probably lean more towards zone. What I don't like about Anthony Weaver's style or approach is that he wants to do mostly zone, and he'll give you the stuff underneath, and then it'll tighten up in the red zone, and it'll tighten up in the goal line, and it'll tighten up on third downs. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, but who am I? Because he had a top 5 defense last year. But how often, like Juice, you could kill it on a drag all game,
all day.
Yeah. If you're giving it to me, I'm taking it.
Right. So they're really counting on, honestly, pressure, bad plays, bad down and distances. How I bring it back to us. How often did our guys see man-to-man last year?
Oh, a lot, especially against the good teams. Houston choked them out.
That's one example. I get it, but most of it was like, what I mean. I didn't see a lot of man against Tyreek.
The Jets. No, a lot of teams. Now he had a safety over the top of them, but I think the book on Miami right now is if you press them, you're going to throw off Tua's timing. You're going to throw off the rhythm of their offense.
And we hate that as receivers. Don't get out of my face for sure.
Yeah, reroute that, and that's the thing. I don't know why so many teams are scared to play that style now. But everything's in the ebb and flow and trends of the league, and Vic Fangio is probably the big don of the NFL right now. Ironically, he was here, but
how about that?
And his style is what everybody is playing, and that's cool and good. But I value and respect more the people who can press you and do the work at the line of scrimmage and disrupt the pattern. Like, and to me, when I saw Chicago play Miami, and I didn't get the opportunity to see Detroit, but when I saw Chicago play Miami, I said to myself immediately, Anthony Weaver has not shown these receivers enough press coverage because they didn't know what to do with it. They had no idea what to do with it. And I'm like, that is a shortcoming of your coach, because you shouldn't be playing 90% zone in training camp. Like, I get it. Your guys need to get ready and be in their right spot. And that's the thing. It's like, they don't care about their ability. They just want them to do what they're told and be in the right spot. Okay. Like,
well, I would like to believe though that like Tyreek Hill at this stage of his career, he should know how to get off of press coverage, right? I mean, shouldn't that be something, Juice? Does Tyreek need that in camp to learn that, or should he? You're talking about a guy that is this year 9?
Year
10 for Tyreek? Yeah. I understand what you're saying.
We've just seen it, but you know what though, Seth, though? He shouldn't need it, but we've seen him struggle with it.
Well, fair. I mean, he's a smaller guy, right?
The quickest guys in the world, they dub press. They want guys in press. But, when you're looking inside at the ball and you're not, you know what I mean? That press is a mother, man, when you're not ready for it, man. But, you want press. Honestly, I can run routes off all day. But, hell, if I got Tyreek's speed, I want press all day.
But let me ask you this question, Juice. Do you want press and then a safety over the top of you?
That's going to be the case. They want press with help. They won't. They most of the time, especially he won't be center field safety either. He'll be over the top. So that's why guys in press can take a chance with it, because if I miss, I still got help.
This isn't Sam Madison 1998. Press and just leave him alone. So yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. So you talked about Tua. And I don't think there's a whole lot that really we need, other than the fact that he's Tua, and it's a great topic. I don't think there's a whole lot we need to talk about there. But what you have been adamant about on Twitter, and certainly more recently after this Detroit game, is the number 2 quarterback position. Okay. And so, Zach Wilson was signed in the offseason. And actually, I'll back up even further. Backup quarterback was a point of contention all of last season for obvious reasons. It was a focal point. Both Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel talked about it in their end of the year press conference. It was a focal point this offseason. They decided to go with the reclamation project with Zach Wilson, a guy who's certainly got a lot of physical tools, but we have yet to see it happen. And then they take a quarterback in the 7th round with Quinn Ewers. You have been screaming from the top of the mountain that Quinn Ewers should be the number 2 quarterback.
I think he should have an open competition and be able to win that job or be put in position to compete for that job. But I know the politics of the NFL. You guarantee a guy $6 million. You probably make promises to him. And knowing Mike, he's not going to back down from those promises. And I've written this, and it's a point of contention with me and the team. There have been four position battles in Mike McDaniel's 4 years here. 4. And
Tell us the 4.
Okay. You want Skyler and Matt Moore. They got to compete in year 2. Skyler beat him out.
Mike White,
yes.
Yeah.
Skyler and Mike White. You have Durham Smythe lost his job to Julian Hill. You have Julian Hill beating out Elijah Higgins for a draftee for that rookie spot. There's another one there.
Damn, is that it?
Yeah, no, it's and Liam Eichenberg and Isaiah Wynn.
Okay.
That's everybody in this organization, and this is to me a downfall for Mike, because Mike's problem is he wants to be everybody's buddy. He wants to be, the guy that's liked. I'm sorry, but if it were me, whether or not Willie Gay had outplayed Tyrell Dodson, hey, let me just see him in that starting lineup with Jordan Brooks one day. Let me just see it. If it's and I respect the D Eskridge come up, because D has earned a spot on the 53-man roster. D has produced just about every day. just about every game. So I'd be shocked if he's cut. But to see D get more opportunity than Taj Washington, a draftee, that was big for this organization because I'm sorry, under the Chris Greer reign, you favoring the draftees. That's why the Channing Tindalls and another good one is Cam Smith has never once passed third team on this depth chart. And I'm like, okay, are we finally shedding the my draft picks are going to get preferential treatment kind of mentality behavior around here? And I think that that's needed because to me, it contributes to the soft mentality that this team has, the soft persona.
Yeah,
like nobody competes around here.
And Omar, that's my thing, man. I'm with you on that, bro. I don't care where you're drafted or undrafted or whatever the hell it is, man. I don't care what school you went to. I don't care about any of that stuff, man. Can you ball? Are you a dog? You know, or you been dogging it because you got drafted? You know, and I feel you on that, man. And you know, we all know that sometimes in positions like Chris is in, that you got to justify your picks, but you also got to justify your undrafted guys. You also got to justify your free agent guys. You got to justify putting the best guys out there, man, and let them go to work. Go battle, man. I love that part about it, man. I don't. Hell, Jimmy Johnson. I don't think he did it, but he'll cut a second rounder, third round.
He did.
They're gone if they don't compete. They're gone, and that's how it should be. And that's sending a message to all those other guys.
That they are too nice around here, and that is part of the. That's part of the problem that I think that they need to work towards shedding, that soft finesse, mentally soft kind of reputation. I'm sorry, but if it were me, Quinn Ewers clearly outplayed Zach Wilson. Quinn Ewers, I want to see you take a rep with the second. I want to see you get some second team duties this week. Zach, we're moving you down. And it don't have to stay that way. Just see what happens. The one thing I respected about Brian Flores was, especially early in his career, we went to training camp. Whoever practiced the day before started at cornerback the next day. Practice the best the day before, you grade out the best, you got to start. That's how we started seeing Nick Needham start multiple days as an undrafted player over players that are veteran. And we're like, why? And he played the best yesterday.
So
and
go ahead.
It sends a message to the players on the team. And unfortunately, I don't think enough of those messages are sent out.
But are there examples of guys that you think didn't get a fair shot and should be starting over the incumbent? Like, can you point to and the soft conversation is a different conversation. And I think there's layers to it, and some of which OJ and I have talked about at length. And some of it I think is fair. But with respect to having open competition, are there players that over the last year, or even heading into camp, and I don't think it's necessarily fair to measure right now, because just because you start camp as a starter doesn't mean that's what you're going to be on day one.
Generally,
but
here it is the case.
Well, typically it is, but I'm saying you can't necessarily make that assumption that in certain positions, like I don't, Tyreek and Waddle and Tua. But I'm saying, are there people over the last couple of years that you feel in an open competition, probably if they legitimately had a competition, that person should have played over the other guy?
Isaiah Wynn, when he came back, he shouldn't have swapped reps with Liam Eichenberg. I'm trying to think now. I've always liked D'Estridge.
But who would he have started? He wasn't going to start over.
He wasn't going to start. I thought maybe at the time, I think he got hurt at the time when Malik kind of took off.
Yeah.
Tanner Conner, I thought played. Tanner Conner, people don't realize this, but he started over Jonnu Smith in the Seattle game, second game of the year. It didn't do anything because Skyler was his quarterback, but that was a start that was somewhat earned. I would be surprised. I'm trying to think. Last year you could have put any safety out there other than Jordan Poyer.
I agree with you there.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I agree with you there.
Yeah.
And I'm not just. To me, it's not about last year. It's not even just about this training camp. It's more about the mentality. Like
but I'm saying support the mentality. Like if that's your opinion of the mentality, are there cases where you could say, look, they should have this guy never got a fair chance to compete for the job? That's all I'm asking.
Oh, this guy never got a fair chance to compete for the job. I mentioned no. I at the time I wanted Skyler to compete with Matt. What is his name? What's that guy's name?
Mike White again?
Mike
Yeah.
White. Yeah.
And they eventually did.
I think they wanted Mike White to be the number 2. I think Skyler took it from him.
No, they want.
You think it was the opposite?
They opened it. I think they got guilted into opening it up.
Whatever it was, I think it was.
And when they opened it up, then they were like, okay. And people will say whatever they want about Skyler. He sucked when he played against Seattle, but keep in mind he also broke his ribs in that game and continued.
Gotta get the ball out of your hands, Omar.
Huh?
You hold on to that thing too long, you're gonna get your ribs broken. Get that ball out, man.
Fair point.
Hey, Zach hold on to that ball a lot too.
Yeah, fair point too.
Yeah,
you're not wrong.
And this offense, you can't.
Yeah, no, you got to get that out. You got to get that thing out. I see the potential in Zach. The issue with me is if it's even, who does the tie go to? It goes to the rookie. It goes to the young player. This is about as even as I've ever seen a competition.
Interesting.
You could put Quinn with a worse line and worse playmakers, and he'd make just as many plays.
So why do you give it to the rookie if it's even?
Huh?
Why do you give it to the rookie if it's even?
The upside, the potential. You're not going to sign Zach Wilson next year. You're not going to keep him around for $6, $7, $5 million when you've got Quinn.
Well, if he can't beat out the 7th round draft pick, you're probably right.
Signed for $4 million for 4 years. You're not going to do that. That's $6 million of resources you could put somewhere else. And if he is even with the guy now, barely knowing the offense, and they might both barely know the offense, but if he's even with the guy now, imagine where he would be if you put the proper investment in him, as opposed to having him go work the scout team. And I think working the scout team is a valuable experience. It's important. He'll see the speed of the game. I'm not dismissing that, but let's say we got to play 4 games without Tua, and God, heaven forbid that doesn't happen.
Let's not say that.
But let's just say that we do. Are we playing Zach Wilson because of his experience edge, even though we know he's a slow processor, even though we know he's going to spray about 3-4 balls a game? Why not go with the young guy and go with the experience? And I'm not a go with the young guy because you never know what's going to happen, or you're trying to tank or whatever. I would rather see just want our competition to be open, that we can practice and see what happens.
Weak, huh? I feel like it needs to be already established before we get.
I'm with you, but
you're making Juice nervous.
We're not there yet, OJ.
I don't want to start that competition mid-season, dog.
I mean, you're making him nervous.
I'm with you, but somebody's going to be the number 2, and somebody's going to be working scout team. We got 3 weeks to figure that out, and in a dream world, it's an open competition, and Quinn's number 2 this week, and we see where that goes. And
I like that. I like that idea. I mean, the reason I really like that idea is because you're right. He needs to see work with. I called it on the radio last week. Quinn's having a good time, good game, because he's like with like talent. He's playing like with like talent at that point in the game. So now getting to the point where, like, once Tua maybe gets his reps this week, Quinn get his second get the opportunity with the next group that's close to like the like talent that, with the first. So, I mean, I think they'll probably do that. Wouldn't they do that? We've already seen what Zach Wilson can do with number ones. We have, because he's had, life in the league already.
Yeah, I don't think they will. And it's just the sad thing about this organization. And I say this with the most conviction ever. I've covered this organization for 18 years. There's only been really one consistent thing that's gone on around here for 18 years, and that's they are fundamentally opposed to quarterback competition. Just absolutely don't want nothing to do with it, ever. It doesn't matter the leader, it doesn't matter the regime, it doesn't matter. There were errors where the defensive player, there were errors where the skill position wide receivers went up to Joe Philbin's office and said, we want to finish the month with Matt Moore as our starting quarterback. And we're told no. And they went on the defense's behalf. So if the defense and the skill players say, we want Matt Moore over Ryan Tannehill, and your coach says no, like you it's like, why would you not?
Omar, you know why, man? The investment in the pick. It's not like it was Tom
8th
Brady.
overall pick.
It wasn't like, Purdy. It's the investment in the pick and where they got him. You have to ride that out. It's just, it's only, me personally, you only ride it so far, but they have to ride that out, man.
If it's the same thing when Tony Sparano was confronted in a similar situation where the team's like, listen, Chad Haney's cool, but we want Chad to be our starter. Yes, it lasted 2 snaps. It lasted 2 snaps before Chad tore his shoulder again. But you gotta listen to your players. You got, and I'm not accusing Mike of that, because Mike does that. Mike, more than any coach I've ever been around, Mike empowers his players to the point where I view them as the leaders of the team as opposed to him. They decide what happens. Mike, we want to practice on Tuesday and have an off day on Wednesday. If the leaders say that, it's done. And that's how Mike operates. But certain things like your eyes can't deny what you see. And I'm not overhyping Quinn Ewers, because I don't know what he can be, but like, you don't see them big boy throws.
Right. Well, here's what I ended on with Ewers and Seth. I know you want, but bottom line is, somebody's got to be Tua-esque to run this offense. And I think that's the whole key for all this, man. If you don't have that anticipation, that pre-snap, like you talk about, this whole offense is designed around Tua. And if you hold on to the ball, like we was talking about with Zach, and we saw Quinn let it rip and be on time, I think that's the whole key. Everybody we bring in is going to be competing. It's got to be Tua-esque in terms of anticipation, reading the room, and all that thing. I mean, that's the bottom line, because these guys, you look at it. I mean, Zach has a cannon for an arm, but you can't hold on to the rock in this game. You gotta see it before it happens, And so I'm with you, bro. I mean, I think that's the comparisons and the similarities between him and Quinn Ewers makes it make more sense to me at times, because that's how you have to play in this offense, because designed around Tua from Mike McDaniel, and Ewers is probably the closest thing to it on our ride.
There you go. Well, on that note, I'm going to just kind of pivot off the actual X's and O's. Oh, what?
But Zach is still my backup right now.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Wait a minute.
I had a whole other question, but wait, you just said he's the closest thing to Tua Tagovailoa. Now I need to understand that.
You like Mike McDaniel. I perform to him. The team see it. But you know what? Zach's still my backup because I gave him $6 million.
Right now, he is. Right now.
Wow. We're gonna have to explore that more, Juice, in a minute. But I want to ask Omar this, because you said you've been covering this team 18 years. A couple of years ago, you stepped away from your position at the Sun Sentinel, where you'd been forever, and you explored something new. Didn't work out the way you had planned. And I have marveled at, I've told you this personally, I'm not just blowing smoke because you're on the show, but I have marveled at the hustle to kind of reestablish yourself in a lot of ways on the beat. Okay. And so it's come in all these different forms. It's come on, obviously, the Miami Herald, which is more traditional, what people are used to with you. Every time I turn on WQAM, whether it's Joe's show, whether it's post-game show, you're there. And then what I think you have been kind of on the forefront of with writers, and we see a lot more of it now, is the way you've engaged with fans on social media. Sometimes it's a little adversarial. Sometimes it's very direct. It's an interesting dynamic to watch. Some people have very strong feelings about you, and you don't seem to care. And then now we've got the collective where you and Alan are working with TD and our guy Dougley. And so, talk about how you have seen maybe the industry and the space change, and why I think it really lends itself well to your personality. But why do you think you've been able to really thrive in that space?
First, I want to say that, I left. I was very uncomfortable leaving my beat, but I was glad. I was willing to do it because I believed in what I Am Athlete was. And if you really look at what they did in their era, they were the pioneers for what you see today of podcasting. They were right up there, top dogs. I think only All the Smoke is probably before them, and the Knuckleheads. That's a basketball, but they were the first football podcast.
No, the Vision was very impressive. I don't disagree
Oh,
with you there. The Vision.
Brandon Marshall is a genius when it comes to ideas, identifying people, identifying talent. He's a horrible, horrible businessman, if not person. And unfortunately, that experience was so traumatic for me that it really taught me a lot of lessons. Like, one, I didn't know what a narcissist was until that experience. Then I started to feel bad for everybody who had played with him throughout his entire career.
Told you a lot, didn't it? Told you a lot, didn't it? That you didn't really know, yeah.
When you have to work with people like that, and really it put such a emphasis for me on mental health. And he's a major advocate for mental health, and I hope he's seeking it, to be honest with you. Not just talking about it, but actually going to therapy. But it's just sad and disappointing about the fact that I Am Athlete no longer exists and fell because the one man was, the cancer who happened to own it. But in terms of the work that I did, I'm very proud of that. And if you look at everybody who was on that platform, they've all gone on to do great things elsewhere. Yeah. From the Pivot to Pac-Man to everybody has gone on to do Shady. Everybody has gone on to do great things. But I'm very thankful for the Dolphins and all Dolphins, not just the podcast, but the platform, Alan Papar, because he opened up his space for me. And the Dolphins didn't have to give them a second person's access. So right. I'm thankful to Ann for welcoming me back.
And people lose sight of that. They don't understand how important that is, that access, that credentialing to an outlet that's not a traditional outlet.
That was so, I'm always going to be grateful to Ann for that and for the opportunity to come back. I still would have been doing the work, but without the access, it probably would be less insightful. Like, people don't realize we get an opportunity to go talk to the coaches, the position coaches, the defensive coordinator. We get an opportunity to talk to players, not just what you hear when you hear a press conference, but the private conversations. And that's where you get all of the information, you get all the knowledge. And without that access, you don't get that. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for QAM that, they always respected my voice and always respected the work that I did and allowed me to host a pregame show. So it was not easy, but and here's the key that I will always encourage. And I always encourage everybody who works with me, works underneath me, asks me for advice. Your audience is the key. Feed your audience. And that's why you see me answering questions. That's why you see me engaging my audience. Your audience is just like when I grew up in Carroll City and not the greatest environment, but the where you get the supply, the way you get the good stuff is where you go back when you're looking for the good stuff. So you know who the good supplier is, and you got to always be there for your customers. And that's always been my mentality, is to produce good content. And I hate this mentality that we write things for the clicks, or we write things to be sensational, or we write things for reactions. Y'all know me. I've been doing this for 18 years. I don't do nothing, none of that stuff for that. I would rather just do what I do. Sometimes I say things on Twitter, don't even think about it for 6-7 hours.
You, Omar.
Have no idea what's going on the Twitter space.
You wake up to it.
Wake up the next day, they talk about me on radio. And I have no idea. I had no idea that I hit it like, and I'll say this in front of you guys. This off season has been probably the most difficult for Dolphin fans, because it's a very difficult era that Dolphin fans have to navigate. They wanted change. They didn't get change. They still want change. And in their mind, the only way they're going to get that change is if this team is just an abject failure. Just everybody sucks. Everything is disaster. Everything. So you have loyal, diehard, season ticket holding Dolphin fans. They're not tanking for Tua. No, they're just hoping for failure so that they can get
So twisted.
And if it wasn't genuine fans, I would say, okay, they don't matter. But these are like your core fans. And I'm like, that's so disheartening to the people in the organization, to the players, to the cafeteria lady, to everybody in that organization is pushing towards doing what they need to do to put together a winning franchise. I enjoy my meals that the Dolphins provide me. They put their foot in it.
Great food. They put their foot in it.
They do
It's good. Better than we just gave pizza loft to you.
So, hey, Omar, I told Seth that the other day, man. Somebody put their foot in it. I said Seth, he put his foot in that article he did about Mark Clayton, and he knew what it meant. Some people don't know what that means, Omar. You know, they put their foot in it, boy.
Hyper high juice.
They come clean the bathroom like 2 times when they're there. There are people who work hard in that organization, and when you root for change just for the sake of change, you don't really pay attention to the lives that you impact. I get it. You got 25 years where you have not won a playoff game. You at fault too, Juice.
Yeah.
Juice was on the last team that won one.
I didn't win my last one, but I won the one before that, Omar. Damn it.
Okay, so you got to win on your resume. Okay,
multiple.
He got the most recent one.
I got multiple playoffs.
I got to stick up for my partner on that one.
But keep in mind when I say it's one, the best chance you have of winning a playoff game is to host it. Why haven't you won the AFC East in 2 decades, with one exception? Because you've had Tom Brady for 18 years in your division. And then you hand it over to Josh Allen, who is also going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Okay, but you had your chance. In 2023, you would have won that division if you had beaten Tennessee. You messed that up. And my thing is, they're not that far. They're not as bad as the Dolphin fan base thinks that they are.
I agree with you.
They lack depth. They got issues on the offensive line. They got issues at cornerback. But other than that, Tua can get you 10 wins. He got you 10 wins with Brian Flores with no offense. Why would you think he can't get you 10 wins if they have a running game and a top 10 defense? Like, you keep him healthy, you could get to 10 wins.
He's got to keep himself healthy too, Omar. So that's a collaborative
effort. A little protection, and you don't have to play hot potato with the ball.
Yeah, man. I hear you, and we probably don't have time to go into this conversation.
Imagine what Tua could do with an extra second.
Yeah.
For sure. But I'm saying when he has gotten hurt.
Zach Wilson, though, with an extra second, right?
That needs about 3.
But that's it. That's your number 2 quarterback, Juice. That's your number 2 quarterback.
That needs about 3.
I'm just saying, real about it. Tua needs to be as invested in staying healthy as you want the offensive line to be, because the last couple of times that he's gotten himself hurt,
it's been his doing.
That's all I'm saying.
He plays with he says he's. I don't think he has, because he still don't throw the ball away in practice. Like, I might have seen 2 throwaways in this year, which, come on, too. Like, you still scrambling around trying to, and you think you're going to switch it off when the games are real? Like, no.
Probably not. Well, I know someone who never switches it off, Juice, and that is Omar Kelly, except for when he drops those Twitter bombs and disappears for 8 hours. But this was a lot of fun, man. I know you're about to jump from here into Mike McDaniel's presser. I would say follow Omar. You're already following him at Omar Kelly. It is must-see TV. Get your popcorn out for sure. And just everywhere else, you're doing your thing. I respect it. And I will say this. I believe you from jump when you said, I don't say things to be a contrarian. I don't always agree with you. Sometimes I'll call you. I'll pick up the phone. I definitely don't always agree with you.
We used to stick together in the games.
We did. We absolutely did. But I believe that everything that comes out of your mouth or your thumbs, you believe it. I definitely agree with that. So great stuff, man.
He stands on business, Big Seth. He stands on business, man. I love it, man. Hey, thanks for diving in, Omar.
Always a pleasure, gentlemen.